All right, let's just jump right in. I want you to imagine something. A future where the whole idea of working for a living is, well, just gone. Obsolete. And no, this isn't some sci-fi movie plot. This is a very real prediction from a legendary venture capitalist, Vinod Khosla. He's convinced AI is about to kick off a change so huge, so profound, it's going to redefine what it even means to be human.
And get this, he's not talking about some far-off, distant future. He's talking about the kids who are alive right now. Yeah. It's a pretty shocking statement, right? And it's designed to do just that, to make you stop and really think about the incredible speed and scale of what he sees just around the corner.
So, what would that even look like, a world without work? Is it some amazing utopia where everyone's fulfilled and creative? Or is it a total dystopia with millions of people just aimless? That's the huge question we're going to dig into. We'll use Khosla's own predictions as our roadmap. So, let's get into how he thinks this is even possible.
Okay, but before we go any further, we have to ask, who is this guy making these wild predictions? Because this isn't just some random talking head on TV. Vinod Khosla. I mean, he has this long, incredible career as a founder and what he likes to call a venture assistant. And his track record, it's all about making massive bets on the future, way, way before anyone else even sees it coming.
I mean, just look at the history here. He co-founded Sun Microsystems, a pillar of the early internet. He was behind Juniper Networks, one of the biggest wins in venture capital history. And here's the kicker. Back in 2019, he made the very first institutional investment in OpenAI. He called it the largest bet he'd made in 40 years. So yeah, when he talks about AI, he's coming from a place of deep conviction and a whole lot of skin in the game.
So how in the world do we get from where we are now to a world with no jobs? Well, for Khosla, this isn't some philosophical dream. It's pure economics. He argues there are two incredibly powerful forces about to make almost everything we need radically, unimaginably cheap.
He calls them the twin engines of abundance. First up, you've got free expertise. Just picture an AI that can be your doctor, your lawyer, your accountant, you name it. Then you've got free labor. Think robots handling all the physical stuff, from growing our food to building our homes. When you make expertise and labor practically free, what happens? The cost of everything just plummets.
And we're not talking about some tiny incremental change here. Khosla's prediction is that within a decade or so, AI will be able to do 80% of all the jobs we have today. And not just do them, but do them better than humans. We're talking doctors, engineers, programmers, almost everyone.
The economic shockwave from that is just staggering. That 80% of jobs, that represents about $15 trillion of the US GDP. If that value from labor mostly goes away, as he says, it creates what he calls a hugely deflationary economy. In plain English, stuff just gets cheaper and cheaper because the single biggest cost, human labor, is basically wiped off the books.
Now, this can be a little tough to wrap your head around, but think of it like this. In this new kind of economy, your money just goes way, way further. Khosla even suggests that an income of maybe $20,000 a year could give you the same lifestyle that a six-figure salary gets you today.
And here's a little taste of what that world of abundance might look like. Education, basically free, delivered by personalized AI tutors. Healthcare, for anything that's not major surgery, nearly free, diagnosed by an AI. Food grown by robots, entertainment on demand, all of it getting closer and closer to a cost of zero. He does admit housing is the toughest nut to crack, but you see the trend. The real bombshell here isn't just that jobs are going away, it's that our whole understanding of cost and value is about to get turned completely upside down.
Okay, so let's say the economics actually work out. We don't need to work anymore to survive. That just opens up an even bigger can of worms, right? What on earth are we all going to do with our time? And this is where Khosla's vision gets really interesting, moving beyond economics and into what it actually means to live a meaningful life.
See, he doesn't picture a future where we're all just sitting around, bored. He sees it as a kind of liberation. For him, AI is the tool that finally cuts the cord on what he calls servitude. You know, all those jobs we do just to pay the bills, and lets us finally focus on the things that, well, that make us human. A shift this big completely rewrites the script we live by. Just think about the advice we've always given our kids. Today, it's all about survival, isn't it? Study hard, get a good job, support yourself. But in the future Khosla sees, that advice is basically useless. The new advice is simply, follow your passion. Why? Because your survival is already covered.
So here's the crucial point. This future frees people from the soul-crushing monotony of an assembly line or the brutal labor of a farm.
Instead, we could spend our time on creating art, building communities, or, actually spending quality time with our families. Pursuing things that have real meaning, not just a paycheck attached. But, and this is a huge but, this utopian dream is not a done deal. Not even close. According to Khosla, there's a massive roadblock, and it's this. Everything, and I mean everything, hinges on whether we can get government policy right, because a transition this big is going to be incredibly messy.
This is his core warning. You just can't have a world where 80% of people are displaced by technology, and all the money, all the gains, flow to the tiny few who own the AI. He says society just won't stand for it. People will, in his words, revoke capitalism if the system leaves them in the dust. The social contract has to change.
So what does that new contract look like? Well, he floats some pretty radical ideas. First, to ease the transition, he suggests getting rid of income tax for anyone making under $100,000 a year. So how do you pay for that? You start taxing capital gains, the money made from investments, at the same rate as regular income. The whole point is to create a tax-neutral plan that shifts the balance away from only benefiting capital and back towards supporting everyday people.
And it's not like these decisions are happening in a vacuum. Khosla is quick to point out that this whole transformation is taking place inside a much bigger, much more high-stakes game, what he calls a full-blown techno-economic war between the US and China. And he sees this as a neck-and-neck race. Right now, the US has the edge in the most advanced AI models, and the chips that run them, mostly thanks to private companies. But China is using its massive scale and powerful state support to close that gap at a scary pace. His big fear is that if the West gets too pessimistic or over-regulates, we could just hand the future over. And you've got to understand the stakes here could not be higher. This isn't just about who has the coolest new tech. In his view, the country that wins the AI race wins the economic race, period. They'll have the most influence on the world stage, and they will be the ones setting the agenda for everyone else for generations.
Which brings us right here to what Khosla sees as this monumental fork in the road. The technology for a world of incredible abundance, a world free from the daily grind of work, it's right there, on the horizon. But actually getting to that utopia, that depends completely on the political, the economic, and the global choices we make right now in this next decade. So the question for all of us is, which path are we going to choose?